video is the tragic tale of my pilonidal cyst, what I've learned about it, how I've dealt with it, tips, just the whole shebang. And if you have had a pilonidal cyst, it's actually quite common, or if you currently have one, then I really hope that this video finds you, because when I was experiencing this, it really, there wasn't a lot of information out there. I was on YouTube trying to figure out what to do about it, and it was just horror story after horror story. This is for all the people out there struggling with this. If this is new to you and you're freaking out and you don't know what to do, this should be very helpful. Now, if you're listening to this video and you're like, I think I have that, well, now you know you have a pilonidal cyst. It's super common. After talking to a lot of people about it, you kind of start to realize that a lot of people have this cyst. It's a lot more common. Like, people don't go around saying like, oh, I have a pilonidal cyst, I have a lump on my tailbone. But it's actually quite common, which is kind of surprising because there's so little research on it and there's really no clear treatment. The treatments that they do have are super risky and just not that great and have really low success rate. So I'm going to get into all that. So what the heck is a pilonidal cyst? That is basically a cyst on your tailbone. And mine I discovered maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. I was living in New York City. I was in bed one night and I just, like, for some reason realized that I had a pea-sized lump on my tailbone. And I was a little concerned. I was like, what the heck is that? You know, kind of freaked out. So I Googled it and I saw pilonidal cyst and immediately just knew that that's what I had. It wasn't until years later I was working at an inn and the cyst just exploded. Like, it just got huge. It went from like a pea size to like the size of a golf ball over the course of like a week and a half, all of a sudden. And I started freaking out. It was excruciatingly painful. I couldn't stand up straight. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't go from like sitting to standing because it's in this spot where there's just so many nerve endings. And so I went to see doctors and they sent me to a surgeon. And basically the surgery is very risky because it's so close to the spine. So because it's so close to the spine, they don't like to do it unless it's absolutely necessary. And even if they do it, it's a really low success rate. Like, it usually comes back and comes back worse than before. So it's like, why would you even get the surgery? I don't know. The surgeon didn't want to do like the full cyst removal. He just drained the cyst and let it heal up. It took like a month for it to heal up. And at that time, I was making a lot of changes in my health because things that happen like this in your body, they don't happen for no reason. I quit smoking at the time. I really cleaned up my diet. I was taking vitamins and supplements. That was really helpful, but the cyst kept coming back. And that's the horror story that you hear on YouTube all the time. It's the cyst keeps coming back and you have to get it drained again and again. But what happened for me is the cyst would come back and then my immune system would kick in and take care of it. So it's been maybe 5 years since the surgery, and it flares up from time to time, but it never gets out of control. My immune system always, takes care of it, and sometimes it happens once a month, sometimes every couple of months. And so the key here is like to not freak out and not think that your life is over, because you can really quickly go down that rabbit hole. There were a couple YouTube videos that just totally freaked me out and put me in a really bad headspace. I thought my life was literally ending. I was not going to be able to function normally again, which was absolutely not the case. I've spoken to countless people who have had the pilonidal cyst as young adults who are now in their 50s and 60s who have not experienced it for over a decade and can't even remember how it resolved. It just went away. I did hear that being on a vegan diet can really help. When I was on a vegan diet for a whole year, I did notice it flared up almost none at all. I believe it has a lot to do with estrogen and general hormone fluctuations, because I notice that it tends to flare up around the time I get my period. It also has to do with my immune system. If I get really sick, sometimes it will flare up because the immune system is busy doing other things, or the immune system is weakened in times of stress. It will often flare up. Other than that, like, the thing they do know about it, because there's very little research, is that you know, they theorize that it's caused by a speck, microscopic speck of fecal bacteria getting on an ingrown hair. So the surgeon that I worked with, he did want to do a kind of like microscopic biopsy kind of a thing to find out what kind of bacteria was there, because he wanted to confirm whether or not it was this fecal bacteria. And he told me the results. I said, of course you can do it. And he came back and he said, yes, it is the same as a lot of fecal bacteria. So gross, I know. So that leads me to the question of, well, what can we do to kill this bacteria? I have found that infrared light therapy has dramatically helped with the cyst. But the thing to know about bacteria is that, you know, when we have a lymphatic system, and the lymphatic system is sort of like the drainage system. It connects all your body parts. So when something is happening, excuse me, in one area of your body's natural mode for taking care of it can sort of take that thing and carry it to other parts of the body. So when you have like strep throat and you have like sicknesses and then you get better, it doesn't mean that the virus is gone from your body. It means that your immune system has controlled the virus. And oftentimes, especially things like strep, will stay somewhere in your lymphatic system, will stay somewhere in your body dormant until your immune system is weakened, and then it comes back up. So you're not always getting reinfected with these diseases. They're oftentimes just coming up and rearing their ugly head when you are experiencing a weakened immune system, whether that's caused by you drinking too much, being too stressed, overworked, stuff like that. And the other thing to know is that in the gut microbiome, we have things like strep and other viruses. These things, we get like bacteria, overgrowth of bad bacteria, parasites, molds, yeasts, all kinds of things that grow in the gut microbiome. And basically, I'm a functional health practitioner. I help people heal their microbiome. I deal with the microbiome a lot, and I use a lot of herbs and supplements to work on detoxing these parasites. And strep is one such parasite that shows up in the pilonidal cyst, and it also exists in the microbiome. And I spend a lot of time treating bad bacteria like strep, which mimic and are very similar to, if not exactly the same as the bacteria that are in the pilonidal cyst. So I thought to myself, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a topical oil that is going to contain a lot of the herbs that I use to treat bad bacteria in the microbiome, and I'm going to apply it topically to the cyst and see what happens. I'll let you know how it goes, but for anyone who's curious about what I'm using here, I'm using this sweet organic almond oil, which is antimicrobial, antibacterial. Then this is an Ayurvedic herb. I believe it's pronounced mangista, I'm not sure. It's used often to treat like cystic acne, so I'm just throwing that in there because it is kind of in the acne family. Like it's a cyst, you know, it's kind of like a giant out of control, you know, pimple. And what I'm doing here is a cold oil infusion. I'm gonna let it sit for about a month. So this here is white willow bark, and this is often used to kill parasites. Tinctures are made of this, and it's an ingredient in this antibacterial, antimicrobial product that I use to treat overgrowth of bad bacteria in the gut. So I'm going to add a really good amount of that. And the third ingredient I'm going to be using is this black walnut tincture. This is a very powerful anti-parasitic, antibacterial, antimicrobial, holistic thing to use that is often an ingredient in parasite detox supplements for the gut. The last ingredient that I'm going to use, but it's something I'm going to add after this is done being infused, is a product called DMSO. And this is a pharmaceutical grade chemical that is used in a lot of medicines. It's often used to reduce pain in the case of hemorrhoids and anal fissures. The purpose of this particular supplement, the DMSO, is that it helps the active constituents that get into your cells much more effectively. So it's gonna penetrate those cells. Yeah, if you have a pilonidal cyst or someone you know has a pilonidal cyst, please share this video with them. Feel free to ask any questions.